Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. This is going to be the follow-up to my video on dollification, and in this one I'm going to be strictly just talking about bimboification. I thought it would be a good idea to kind of separate the two because while bimboification and dollification do have a lot of overlap in a lot of ways, they also exist completely separate from one another, and I wanted to make sure that I strictly just talked about bimboification on its own as well. Like dollification, bimboification is very much about the transformation aspect. It is about taking somebody, a person, and turning them into a really highly sexualized object. That can be an object that has a lot of their own sexual autonomy, but for the most part, bimboification involves transforming someone into a sex object that exists for other people's pleasure. And that way, one of the key elements of bimboification is going to be the objectification aspect, because you are literally turning a person into a sex object. Now, unlike dollification, it does very much exist separately from BDSM, but it can also overlap from BDSM. What I mean by that is a lot of people do incorporate bimboification as part of their BDSM play, usually through degradation, humiliation, those kinds of aspects. That is how bimboification gets incorporated into BDSM, but at the same time, it does very much just exist all on its own. It is its own kink, it is its own fetish that can exist completely outside of BDSM, and that is actually probably more common than having it be within BDSM from what I understand. And there can be power exchange in the sense that somebody is becoming a sex object and they are being used, but it's not quite the same as the relationship between a doll and its maker or a pet and its owner. It's literally just like an object being used. So whether or not you consider that power exchange and you consider, what you do for bimboification power exchange, totally up to you. But the way that I see it, it's not quite the same kind of power exchange that exists in other BDSM dynamics, if it is in fact part of a BDSM dynamic at all. But how do you actually do bimboification? What is the process of bimboification? Bimboification is, as I said earlier, it's a transformative process where you take a person and turn them into a sexual object. Generally speaking, dollification has a lot of different ways that you can become a doll, whereas with bimboification, there tends to be a very set pattern or very set type of person that somebody becomes when they are bimboified, because being bimboified is, it's about becoming a bimbo, and a bimbo has a very specific, I wouldn't necessarily say cultural meaning, but it has a lot of people have an understanding of what a bimbo looks like, and it's very consistent, whereas a doll can be a wide variety of different objects. Generally this means, somebody who has long hair, they're very girly, they're generally, lower intelligence, maybe they have kind of a prissy accent, they generally wear girly or frilly clothes, they wear really outrageous, makeup and lipstick. So there's a lot of almost showmanship, I want to say, about bimboification, because it's very much about the outward appearance, but everything. It is about over feminization. It is about hyper feminization. It is about taking everything that is considered feminine in Western culture usually, and just taking that to the complete nth degree, just taking it way out there. A lot of people who participate in bimboification do a very over exaggerated Barbie sort of look. So, long blonde hair, maybe it's back in pigtails or a ponytail. They're wearing a lot of really bright pink colors. Maybe they have a California girl accent. Something like that is going to be really common in bimboification. And there doesn't really tend to be a lot of deviance there in terms of, what somebody actually thinks that a bimbo looks like. Bimboification does overlap a lot with other fetishes, namely latex. The reason for that is, one, latex sticks to your skin, obviously, so it's going to show up all of those shapes and curves. It is very much a very hyper feminine form of dress when you're wearing latex, because it shows off, all of those womanly curves, right? Another thing is that a lot of latex is inflatable, so you can take that, enhancement, that hyperfeminization, to a whole other degree, because they have inflatable breasts, they have inflatable butts, they have inflatable pretty much everything that you can do in latex. Okay, so that is one tool a lot of people use to sort of enhance the bimboification process. Another thing is that bimboification can overlap with sissification in some situations if the person who is becoming a bimbo is, a male, generally a cisgendered male who is, not only being sissified and, forcibly feminized into a woman, but being, forcibly turned into the like most hyper example of what being a woman is, becoming a bimbo. So there's a lot of different elements there that you can play with. Now, something that I want to make sure that I mentioned that I don't think I got to in the beginning of this video is, even though bimboification does have a lot of, sort of set ways that people, become a bimbo, and we have a lot of same pictures about what being a bimbo looks like, the sort of end result is different. You could be a living doll. You could be like a blow-up doll. You could be a fuck machine, a fuck toy. You could be like a bimbofied robot who is programmed to like give people the best blowjobs ever. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can kind of take bimboification, but they generally all sort of have the same endpoint, and they generally all sort of have the same thing, and that is, somebody who is being objectified and turned into a purely sexual object. They are being actively sexualized by the participants in the scene, or just, whoever is participating in the bimboification process. And generally speaking, they all have, their intelligence erased. They don't get to make their own choices. They have their authority erased. People who are bimboified generally aren't, intelligent enough, and the way that I phrased that was wrong. I'm trying to say that people who are going through the bimboification process are like lesser people. I'm trying to say that, the idea of a bimbo is somebody who is inherently less intelligent, even if the person who is becoming a bimbo has a PhD. Like, that is just, what somebody plays on when they're going through the bimboification process. And again, they are generally in existence for sexual purposes. That is the point of bimboification. But yeah, that is basically what bimboification is. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like simple or anything like that, but it does tend to have a bit more of a linear definition, a linear way that it is done, in comparison to a lot of other kinks and fetishes out there. That, a lot of things like pet play or dollification have just a huge variety of them, but bimboification tends to be a bit more focused, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, etc. about bimboification or anything else, please feel free to leave that down below, as well as any video suggestions you might have. I will leave links down below to all of my social media, my Patreon, if you want to support me on there if you like this video. And until I see you next time, have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.